Thank you, Skip. I appreciate that. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate all the other nominees tonight. I'm sure you're as proud as I am to be here, so congratulations to all you guys. 35 years ago, I came out to Strathmore High School to interview for a coaching job. God help them. What were they asking for? Good Lord, honey, they got me for 35 years. I can't believe it. Somebody was sleeping. I came out and met a man named Marty Seib. I'm going to tell you that there's a few people in my life that I worked with here, Marty being one of them, and I guess I'll just pause for a second. I'm here because my dad was probably my biggest influence. My dad was a CFL player, and I didn't get a chance to see him play. He was about 28 years old when he retired, and I was about 2 or 3, but he coached junior football for a long time after. And he talked about the people in his life that had made a difference for him. And in the CFL at that time, sometimes former NFL guys would want another year or two out of their playing days, and they would come to Canada. And my dad talked about one guy in particular. My dad would always tell me, if you want to learn the game right, don't stay here. You can't. You're not going to learn the right way. You need to go down south. And, you know, when I was little, I just accepted that. But as I got older in my teens, I would question more. Like Dad, what are you talking about? And one of the guys in particular who Dad had talked about was a guy named Martin Ruby. Dad called him Big Rube. And Martin Ruby apparently was a guy that came out of Texas A&M and then one of the New York NFL franchises. And Dad told me he was a bad man. That he actually took a fondness to my dad, took him aside, and started teaching him the game the way no other coaches in Canada in high school and his junior leagues had ever taught him. And from that point on, I was probably 13, 14 years old, I was going to get down here to play. And I started going to grad camps when I was a high schooler, and they were run by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, opponents of Mr. Brown over here, Steve. I watched him in high school play, and he was a hell of a football player. Played with a guy named Wayne Harris, who was another hell of a good football player, I believe, from Arkansas. Yeah. The both of them were dynamite. Didn't know Steve at the time, but I knew who he was. But my dad says, you need to go to these camps, and maybe some of these guys will recognize you, and perhaps you can impress them enough to get down south. So I went to a couple grad camps, and like Steve and all these other guys that play football tell you, coaching is a fraternity. Everybody knows everybody. And I was just lucky enough to get placed down to Porterville College to play with Don Kloppenberg. But I had 2 other guys in my life up there that were significant. One of them was an elementary school baseball guy named Norm McGinnis. And the other guy was my high school coach named Blaine Knoll. And you know, when you were